All right, let's go ahead and up in prayer here. Lord, we just thank you once again, God, for your grace, your presence, your love, your mercy towards us. We thank you, God, that your word is already anointed. We just ask, God, that, Lord, you would anoint me as I speak, that it would make sense, that you would anoint our ears to hear, our hearts to receive, to where it moves deep within our lives, and we just praise you for it in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. So we're continuing here in chapter 30 with the saga of Jacob. And I say saga because it really is. It reminds me of a modern day, soap opera kind of thing almost, except it wasn't fake, it was real. And so starting in chapter 30, verse 1, it's exactly what I believe was mentioned by somebody last week at closing. And it says in verse 1 that when Rachel saw that when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, give me children or else I die.
Wow.
So at this point, her sister has 4 sons. She has none. She may not have the total, what's the word I'm looking for? She may not have the total affections of her husband, but Rachel may have had the affection, but she was jealous because she didn't have the family. And so, and then we see in verse 2, Jacob starting to get a little annoyed. It says, Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, am I in God's stead, who has withheld from me the fruit of the womb? So, Kelly interpretation, the trophy wife is getting a little annoying to him. And it says his anger was kindled against her. And basically, he's saying, why are you asking me to give you kids? It's not that we're not being intimate, but God obviously isn't seeing fit to give you children. He's withholding the fruit of the womb.
God.
And so then we see another crazy policy happen. Basically, it's the same policy that Sarah and Abraham used. But verse 3 says, she said, behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her,
Oh, wow.
and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. And she gave him her handmaid to wife, and Jacob went in unto her. And so, when it says she shall bear upon my knees, we're looking again at historical traditions that make no sense in our modern world. But the slave was the property of the master. So Bilhah belonged to Rachel. Rachel basically had the right to tell her, you will have sex with my husband to give me a child out of the situation.
It's more of that goofy stuff from the Old Testament.
Yes, as you call it, that goofy stuff from the Old Testament.
So it's surrogate.
Yeah.
Yes, a surrogate, but she would have had no choice in the matter being a surrogate because she was a slave.
In our day and age, they would go in and take an egg from one woman, fertilize it, and then implant it into another.
Yeah. I can't help but think that God did not like this kind of stuff anyway.
No, God.
I don't think that God, I think he kind of winked at it a little bit, but I don't think he really liked all these people sleeping with all these handmaidens and getting children when they're not married. You understand? It just doesn't make any
Did get married.
Well,
For the purpose of that. the purpose of bearing children. So gave it to wife. So it was like just for that purpose. It's not that you get to do it all the time. It's just I need a child, and it's a surrogate. And this is before the invention of, as Brother Sam said, petri dish and being able to take it out.
And
Right.
also, Solomon had many wives,
Mhm.
plus
Concubines.
many more concubines.
But it wasn't mine, was it?
Well, it was different in those days. I was selling up
Mhm.
the earth.
You gotta fill up the earth, but we can only have so many babies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And who are those
Wasn't God's will.
children supposed to have families with? You know?
But God would have been particular. God would have been particular.
They just not.
Some of the men were not. Because God would have plucked Rachel and Leah, for
Mhm.
instance.
It's just,
When Jacob married Leah first, it broke his heart.
yeah.
But he only had to fulfill her when he finally got Leah, but he had to serve her when he got Rachel. But he still had to serve for Rachel 7 years after
Yeah.
they were married.
Right.
And so God allowed all of that. He
Mhm.
wasn't, what God was against was marrying pagan women
Right.
and
gods.
idolatry and
Right.
the wild sexual orgies that they had
Sure.
with their gods and
Right.
you know,
Like that crazy stuff where they had all the sex and stuff in front of the temple.
Right.
That's
because
crazy
there was
stuff.
temple
Yeah.
prostitutes in those days.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't
And there was
understand
also some of them that would actually, there were women that would have sex with the priest
that.
for the purpose of having the child and the child being a sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Because of false gods.
Yeah,
the
of false
gods,
gods, yes. Not
Like a
True.
witchcraft kind of thing.
yeah.
Tim, did you get a sandwich? There's two over here.
And so continuing on, she gave him Bilhah her handmaid to wife. Jacob went into her. And like I said, when it says bear upon the knees, they literally, that was a literal position. The maid, the slave giving birth would be sitting on the lap or the knees of her mistress. And when she gave birth and the baby came out between the legs, her legs were on top of the mistress's legs.
Oh, right.
And it was like
She
her baby.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
it's placed on the
symbol.
mistress's stomach.
Yeah, symbolic.
yeah.
Okay.
We are in
Yeah,
chapter
similar,
30,
yes.
verse 5. And so Bilhah conceived, she gave Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me and heard my voice and given me a son. And therefore she called his name Dan.
And there again, to me, that sounds like her putting words in God's mouth. You know, or saying that this is what God's done when she's the one who did it. No.
That's the same stuff that Abraham was doing.
Pretty much.
The same laws, yeah.
Same- yeah.
Just like Hagar was Sarah's maid, and
Yeah.
so her child was legally Sarah's child property,
Mhm.
the same thing here.
And as Sarah got ahead of God, because we can't
Sure.
fix things, only God can.
Right.
Right.
And if Rachel would have just continued to pray, he
Mhm.
would have given her
Yeah.
Greater level of faith.
And later on, he does.
a child.
And so then Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, with great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. So we see here that sibling rivalry going on by Rachel's comment, wrestled with her sister for the husband and, all that stuff.
Naphtali actually means wrestling.
Yeah. Naphtali literally means wrestling, Dan literally means judge. And it says, so verse 9, Leah saw that she had left bearing, so what does she do? She follows the same pattern. She took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her maid to Jacob to wife. And then Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And so Leah said, a troop cometh and she called his name Gad, which literally means truth. These names all literally mean. And so, the same thing. Would Leah have given her maid to Jacob if Rachel hadn't? No, she was just kind of, this whole sibling rivalry, one up that's going back and forth.
One-uppance.
All because of their father. You know, it's like, wow.
And that could be true, Sam. I mean, their dad could have been, Laban could have been playing them back and forth against each other since they were little kids, and it
And
could
it was his
manifest.
fault. The fact
That they did that. Yeah.
And so Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare a second son.
Wow.
And Leah said, "Happy am I, the daughters will call me blessed." And she called his name Asher. Now, she didn't mean her daughters. She just meant the women in the area would call her blessed. And she's, considering blessed and happy because she now has 6 sons, either born directly to her or born through the surrogate, her maid. And so
Poor
we
man.
saw that whole back and forth.
He's busy.
Yeah.
And so, verse 14, Reuben went in the days of the wheat harvest, and he found mandrakes in the field. And he brought them unto his mother Leah. And then Rachel said to Leah, "Give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes." So a little bit of backtracking here. The scientific definition is mandrakes were a lettuce-like plant of dark green color. They had purple flowers. Their fruit would be the size of a miniature apple. And they were usually red. They smelled good. I mean, it would have been an okay fruit. But what superstition is, they were used to make love potions. And so it was considered, if you had mandrakes, it was this love potion, and you were going to conceive if you ate them before being intimate, you were going to conceive and get pregnant.
Sound like to me they didn't need it.
So Rachel decides that she needs these mandrakes more than Leah because Leah already has all these children and she hasn't had any except through her maid. So what we see here, though, in Rachel is Rachel was very superstitious, and we're going to see that again in the next chapter as well. She did not have the same level of respect, the same level of intimacy with Jehovah as perhaps some of the others did, because she was very superstitious. If she hadn't been superstitious, she wouldn't have wanted the mandrakes. And so Rachel said to Leah, "Give me of your son's mandrakes." And so then
I'm saying
Leah said to her, "Is it a small matter that you have taken my husband? Would you also take my son's mandrakes also?"
Wow.
So, I mean, you could look at it, yeah, Rachel did take her husband, but she took Jacob from the first place. But then again, we have the whole thing, she would have had no choice. If the father said jump, he jumped in that whole scenario. But, so she basically comes out and attacks her sister. She's like, "You have my husband, what else do you want?"
Wow.
And Rachel said, "He shall lie with thee tonight as payment of your son's mandrakes." So now Rachel is saying,
Yeah.
you give me the mandrakes and he's yours for the night.
Oh,
Even if it wasn't his regular night, so to
Wow.
speak. You give me the mandrakes, you can have the husband. So,
Poor man.
It's like, wow. That's just.
and so then when
Poor
Jacob
guy.
came out of the field in the evening,
Our lucky guy, whichever.
Leah went
Just
out
go
to
in the
meet
field.
him.
Hard day work.
Hard day at work in the
Now
field
you
in
got
the
extra
evening.
duty.
Leah comes out to meet him
Uh-huh.
and says, "You must come into me because I've hired you
Wow.
with my son's mandrakes." And he
Hard to
lay
pay
with
for
her that night.
Mm-hmm.
But verse 17 is where it gets interesting because it says, God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the 5th son.
Wow.
Wow.
And so we see here again the whole superstition thing with Rachel didn't
Didn't work.
work
And if you think about it,
because she didn't have the mandrakes, and yet she conceived anyways.
what's
Wow.
interesting is if they didn't have this squabble going on, would he have had 12 sons? Probably not. So,
God is behind all things.
yeah.
Because he was building the
Yeah.
nation Israel.
exactly.
I like it because God has a covenant with the forsaken or the unloved wife.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
when Sister
that
Kelly
too.
said, God hearkened unto Leah. She's constantly crying out. Last week, Sister Kelly was pointing out the way she named her natural born sons. See me, recognize me,
Yeah.
look at me. And then finally
And
she
then
says,
she
you know
says,
what?
forget it.
Just
Judah.
praise God. I'm going to be
I-
content and
I'll
happy.
be content because
But
I have
still-
children.
With her strong accusation,
Mm-hmm.
you've taken away my husband.
Yeah.
And she's saying to her sister, can't you leave me anyway? And
Well,
so all this
in
bitterness.
effect, she's saying, "Can't you just leave me alone?
Yeah, wow.
You know, I've got what I want.
I have a family.
I have a family.
Mhm.
I've got God. I'm
Yeah.
happy with that. Leave me alone.
I couldn't salt me.
Now you want more?
Now, I like the retribution. I guess I call it retribution because she, as Sister Kelly says, she thinks she's getting these mandrakes. I'm gonna get my love potion number 9 on it. She doesn't realize your aggravation toward your sister instead of your
Is
peace
what's
treaty
causing?
is what's causing that.
Yeah.
And so you think you're getting the deal, and now you just gave her an opportunity to have another son.
Mm.
Powerful.
Yeah.
And actually, Jacob didn't know until later on. He actually loved Leah more than he thought he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went into that last week.
Yeah.
He was. His
And-
first love was Rachel,
Mm-hmm.
and he had felt really,
Enamored.
well, not just enamored. He had felt that they did him wrong.
Right.
His justice when
He was
he
betrayed.
woke up and there was Leah. So for a long period of time, I think it took him a long time to get over that.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
And,
married the wrong woman.
Yeah. And so, but anyway, he went ahead and did the honorable thing back in that day. It was honorable for him to do all this
Go
stuff
ahead
in
and
that
take
day.
that.
It's weird, but you know.
Sure.
What I can understand is this. I can only understand too much of that woman. When I really love a woman, I don't want to do anything with anybody else. How can he do that?
It was common back then
Yeah.
for them to have multiple wives, as Bishop was saying.
Yeah.
Early on, God was populating the earth.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
very common for a man to have more than one wife.
It didn't remain that way.
But it didn't remain that way. After hundreds of years,
Sex back then was more of a
finally
procreation purpose than a pleasure
Like
love purpose.
Yeah.
And there are
and
a lot of
it was more about having children, because the
Yeah.
more children you had, the richer you were.
More prosperity.
It was all about prosperity. It wasn't about the
Well, I noticed
Love.
this.
actually there are some
What's love have
people
to do with it?
today
Yeah.
who feel the same way. I know people and they've had bad marriages, they stay together.
Right.
For the
Because they
children.
only felt like sex was
Right.
for having children.
Wow.
yeah.
If they didn't want kids, they didn't want anybody to touch them. And after they had all the kids they wanted, then it was very,
Interesting.
and it makes
Horrible marriage.
not only that, but it makes it very hard on the children growing up
Sure.
because there's no affection in that home like there should be.
And still today, there's ethnic groups that the more children you have, the more greater the man.
Right.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and
But like Bishop was saying, the greatest thing that a man can do for his family is to love his wife and love his children. The greatest thing that a woman can do for her children, her family, is to love her husband in front of the children and to model what the children should say. You know, The son should say, I want a wife just like my mother, so honorable. And the son should say, I want a wife just like my mother. And the daughter should say, I want a husband like my father because I see the way he takes care of mom, the way he goes overboard. But that's not always done.
Exactly.
Bishop was saying the very sadness that some people think I guess there's a book called Intended for Pleasure. They believe sex is only for procreation. They don't understand God created this beautiful thing before the fall. He created this beautiful thing, and there was no shame, there was no sadness. All of this stuff came in.
But we don't know that Adam ever knew his wife before the
No.
fall. It's never
It doesn't say
recorded
he
that
knew it.
and after the fall is when it says, and Adam knew Eve.
That's right.
After the fall, and after the forgiveness, and after they were kicked out of the garden,
Sure.
then Adam knew Eve.
And actually, I was just kind of thinking and wondering if the way they thought, more children, the better the man, could that be part of the sin nature? Or part of that whole scenario?
Yeah, I honestly don't
study
want
that.
to say I would have to study into that because sin nature does run rampant. We know that.
Right.
And,
Diluted everything.
but their custom was if the wife didn't have children, she gave the concubine or a
Sure.
concubine
Right.
to have a child for her. Like
No
they said.
different than modern surrogacy,
Right.
legally speaking.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when did all that stop? When did all that?
It literally, she literally considered that her child.
That's what the whole birth on the knees things meant. It was
Yeah.
literally her child.
Yeah.
When you had a servant, in other words, servant is only one definition of that word. It meant slave. When you have a slave, everything belonged, the property, the slave, her person, and anything coming from her, that belonged to your master, the mistress.
But like the slaves in the Civil War time, that didn't mean the same thing with them, did it?
That was property.
Yeah, but you.
In America, that was property.
It depended. There were some.
But they had, it wasn't a godly thing.
No,
by
it
that
wasn't a
time it
godly
was a terrible thing.
It was a
because
terrible thing.
Yeah.
The masters
Sure.
abused the women horribly bad.
During
Except
Egypt,
for
too.
some,
Sure,
like
wasn't it?
Thomas Jefferson,
Mhm.
literally fell in love with one of his
Sure.
slaves.
Sally Hill.
But most of them
Oh, yeah.
abused the women. And
Oh, yeah.
if they got involved with
Just
one
property.
of the men, they'd sell that man. They'd sell the child the woman
Sure.
had.
For spite.
Yeah, it was just a
I
terrible,
don't do that
terrible
kind of
thing.
stuff. I don't even have that kind of thoughts. I don't know.
You look at it like this. Look at it like this, and you have to realize like this. It becomes
Different
an
culture.
institution,
Yeah.
and after hundreds of years, and look how long this thing went on. You cannot necessarily even blame the master because after hundreds of years, this is life.
Because their mind got attuned to it.
This is life. And this is
It's
the
kind of
way
like
you're
it's
raised
kind of like our children.
hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Your father, your grandfather. I mean, you had, as Bishop was saying, some people that were very kind, and Quakers and folks that eventually became the abolitionists. But to a degree, they're both enslaved. The ones who are the slaves and the ones who are having to be the masters.
Yeah, they all are.
You both have to enter into the peculiar institution of slavery, and after so many hundreds of years, it becomes natural. It's sad, but it becomes natural. And there is no civilization under the sun, to my knowledge, that has not practiced some form of
Yeah,
slavery.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was listening to this program, and he said even some black slaves had slaves.
Yeah,
Oh,
That's all
absolutely.
crazy
even here
stuff.
in America.
Yeah, it's crazy
A
stuff.
lot,
Right?
a lot of
And you
them-
actually had white slaves before you
Right,
had black
that's
slaves.
right. So our whole world is into this stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
It has been in since the ages
And a lot of
before
people,
America was America.
a lot of people don't realize that blacks had slaves before
No.
whites had slaves.
Yeah.
Like in Africa.
Yeah, that's all
Blacks-
crazy stuff.
The
Yeah.
more wealthy blacks,
Right.
more prominent, would
Sure.
have slaves to do their work. And
See, I just don't have them. I just don't have them thoughts. I don't have them thinking. So it seems
Different
crazy to me.
culture.
Yeah,
Mhm.
crazy. It seems ludicrous.
It's a different way
it
of
showed the
life.
ugly. It showed the ugliness of it when they started doing the black market slave trade.
Yeah.
Sure.
It wasn't really black market; it was open market slave trading.
Mm-hmm.
When they would go and capture those slaves in Africa.
Right.
Well, they were like, they didn't think anything, just like they
No,
were
they
just
considered
animals.
them. Yeah,
Just like no better than any.
they were just an object. They weren't
Right.
people.
Absolutely.
They were just an object.
The love of money
Absolutely.
is the root of all evil.
Yeah, but you can't do a human being that way. You don't do
They do it today. It's called
Yeah.
The human slave trade,
Yeah.
for the most part, it's referred to as the sex trade. And that happens today in sweatshops. I guarantee you can probably find it
And
in
that's-
good people up in Vice City.
That's where you
But
have.
yeah, they busted a bunch of them.
Yeah, and that's where you have a lot of the little children
Yes.
that are sold today.
Yeah,
And that's
that's
where
weird.
a lot of
What
your
nationality
teenage
they are.
runaways are.
Yeah, that makes me sick. That makes me mad, too.
Back in the '60s, a lot of the women that had children around, unmarried women that went out, love child, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Satanists would take the child and kill them
Yeah.
and try to milk
It's
them.
absolutely
Ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Sorry, but Satan is evil, and he's behind this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He puts it, and I think it's Jeremiah that talks about the heart. He connects
Well,
it is,
Desperately wicked.
yeah.
some people beyond reproach or something.
So it's just our hearts are purified by grace, by Jesus Christ up in heaven. We are, we're different. We're different when we were not Christians. And even when we were not Christians, because we were raised in a different culture than us, some of the stuff would have been abhorring to us.
Yeah.
We could not have abided it.
Even people that aren't Christians, that would be considered just moral type person, they wouldn't even go for this stuff. You know,
But you have to
But
look
you have a
at
whole different culture. You've got to
And
what
like it,
happens to the heart, how a heart has to be changed.
because our heart is hard, and he'll take that hard heart out and put it in the hard flesh.
Mhm.
So, and I remember growing up, and we were never racist, Mexicans, whites, whatever, blacks. And one of our best friends was the Dillingham family that lived down the road from us. They were a black family. We just loved, well, they were our best friends. And,
Sure.
and I could stay at our house many nights. And he had an older brother named Ralph, and he went, he was friends to Aubrey, some of you know who Aubrey was, but anyway, Cookie's brother. But when he would go see Aubrey, he went one time to the front door. And after that, the dad told Aubrey, if that black guy wants to come to this house, you tell him you want to go back.
That's terrible.
And he was, and that should not have been in
No.
the '60s, but because he was from Arkansas, and that was, I mean, my mom was, and she wasn't a
Yeah.
racist, but he was a racist because where he
It's
came
ingrained.
from
The
in that
culture's
area,
ingrained.
yeah. So I mean, his son felt horrible. He didn't want to tell him that, but he knew he couldn't have him come to the front door anymore,
Sure.
or his dad would jump him. It's terrible.
The store that my mom worked at, the soda shop. The same thing, a black man with a uniform would come on in there, and the owner told my mom, he's not to be served to come in here.
Wow.
And because he was colored,
Mhm.
but he was a serviceman. And he said, well, I fought for you in the war, and the owner of the store said, you didn't fight anything for me, or my mom quit, because it made her sick.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I said, I can't understand that kind of stuff. I don't get it.
I think I've told this
Safe.
before.
Well, you
But
don't always have to understand
Yeah,
it. It's just historical,
Just-
just
yeah.
accepting that
Right.
it's historical. It is and
yeah, and
continues.
times
Sure.
change. But I also remember my Rosa football team. They had a game down south, so they stopped by the Grapevine coming back to eat. We all went into the restaurant. Everybody ordered, and some of the food had been brought out. And then Mac, the one I told you was our friend, he was going to order. They would not take his order.
Oh, wow.
They said, we don't serve
Yeah.
black
Oh,
people
yeah.
here. And the whole team, without saying one word, every member of the team got up
Well, good.
and left their food. Just left it behind them. They all got out, and Mac doesn't eat, we don't eat. And so you just have to do what you're taught is going to be uppermost in your heart. Even if you don't know Christ, but when you know Christ, then your heart can be changed from that hard heart. But the culture has a lot to do with it, and thank God we don't have that culture where we are in America.
Sure.
Some people have it, but we don't.
So that's why they do the stuff like they do in the Old Testament, because it was in their culture and because it was taught over and over.
Tradition. Ingrained. You know, Satan is behind every type of division. There it is. Genesis chapter 3. His first strategy is he's angry at God. That one more The bishop said one time, it's the longest war that's ever been fought.
Yeah.
It's still being fought.
Oh,
He couldn't get at God, so he went after God's beloved creation.
Yeah.
And then he began to separate between husband and wife. Then he began to separate between siblings. So the family of man is what he's always been after. Genesis, Revelation chapter 12, 17 verses. To me, it's a summary of the Bible. He got angry at the woman and he went to war with her seed. And the seed that keep the commandments. And the fact of the matter is, the unseen hand in all of history, as Sister Kelly was saying, that's just history, is the enemy. So when you look at people,
Well,
you don't realize
You have
these
to
wicked
remember,
things
he
going on.
also heard what God said to her.
Mhm.
He got angry at her seed, not just what he wasn't. He was specifically angry with the woman's seed line, and that seed line he went after tooth and nail, and that was the lineage of Jesus
so,
Christ.
so Satan tries to dilute that seed line of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And all this Nephilim
Yes.
stuff and all
Yeah,
the demons,
that's
all that
exactly
stuff.
what it was.
Yeah. I remember that from weeks ago when we
Yeah.
taught it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I read that. I read that all a bunch of stuff like that online too. Yeah, Chuck Missler talks about all that stuff. He's good.
So back on track here to the lesson,
Oh.
continuing. So yeah, you just have to accept some of it, David. You're not going to understand it. It's
Sure.
history, it's tradition, it's culture.
Or let's put it this way: I understand it. I just don't accept it.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
And so verse 21,
Understand.
after going through all the sons, it says, afterwards Leah bare a daughter, and she called her name Dinah. Dinah simply means vindicated.
Wow.
So she feels that she has all these children and that, she's vindicated. What she vindicated with, her struggle with
Wow.
her sister for Jacob, but she feels vindicated.
Wow.
And then after Leah feels vindicated, it's interesting, verse 22, after Leah feels like she's vindicated, then God remembered Rachel
Wow.
and hearkened to her and opened her womb after the wrongs had been sort of righted.
Wow.
And Rachel then conceived and bare a son and said, God has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph and said, the Lord shall add to me another son.
Wow.
So God has taken away my reproach. Because again, back then barrenness wasn't a curse. It wasn't scientific. Nowadays we know barrenness scientific. You can test the husband, you can test the
Sure.
wife, you can test both of you together. I mean, having a child is 100% science nowadays if you're
Did you say
infertile.
it wasn't a curse?
No, it was.
Okay, I thought that's what you meant, but I didn't understand.
So they thought it was a curse. It really
Yes,
wasn't.
absolutely. So
It was
when
a
she
curse.
said, God has taken away my
Deuteronomy
reproach,
28, it's cursed.
it was,
God
Back
gives the
to
first blessing, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish, without being able to multiply.
That is a
It's
curse.
cursed.
Yeah.
That's what she
And he cursed David's wife, Michal,
Michael.
and she got mad at
She made a
David
child.
and hated him in her heart for dancing before the Lord.
Oh wow.
Well, it's mine.
who are we to say David even went back to Michael after that incident? I mean, God
I
might
know
not
that.
have had to naturally curse her. He may have
But he
had
did
to
say it. He did
Yes.
say
do
he
something.
did not have a child. And it could very well have been that they would shut her away from
Sure.
the Lord knew her.
Well, I didn't know any of that happened.
And so she called his name Joseph. Joseph simply means add or adding. And then it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said unto Laban, send me away
Wow.
that I may go to my own place and my country.
Wow.
So he's ready to go home at this point. He has his whole brood, he has all his wives, his family, he just wants to go home. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service which I have done thee.
Wow.
And so, and Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry. For I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for thy sake. And that happens more than once in Scripture. You read them multiple times where different people were blessed because of the Lord blessing an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto him, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it.
Wow.
So Laban's not a dummy. He's a deceiver, but he's not a dummy. He knows that because of Jacob's 14 plus years with him, that he has become a prosperous, rich man thanks to Jacob.
Wow.
And he's no dummy. He doesn't want him to leave. Why would he want him to leave when it's so fruitful for him that he be there? And so he tells him basically, appoint me your wages. In other words, you tell me what your salary is and I'm going to give it to you. And he said unto him, you know how I have served you and how your cattle was with me. It was little which you had before I came, and now increased to a multitude. And the Lord has blessed thee since my coming. And now, when shall I provide for my own house also?
Yes, no problem.
In other words, I have all these wives and kids, but we're still living off daddy.
Yeah.
It's time for me to provide for my own house.
I wish my kids would think that.
You know, Sister Kelly, in verse 21, I think it's pretty amazing that in the bloodline, and it's rare that daughters are actually named, but Dinah was actually named. And we know that they had other daughters, but Dinah is actually named. I think that's very significant.
Yeah. And I don't know what it has to do with,
The name
but
vindicated, kind of closure.
And later on, something happens to Dinah.
yeah, when it says, you know, bear a daughter and call her name Dinah, my deal has a reference, and on the reference it goes to Genesis 34:1, which says, and Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Joseph, Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And
Yeah,
I
there's
think
a
that's
whole
what,
other story
you know,
for sure in
that's a whole
chapter
other.
34.
She's going to be.
Oh yeah,
Something
or
what
did.
happened to her?
Yes.
What happened?
And
You'll see.
so,
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
what shall I give thee? And Jacob said,
Wow.
thou shalt not give me anything. In other words, I'm not going to take any wages except what God allots me through providence.
Wow.
And Jacob says, I'm going to again feed and keep your flock, but this is how my payment's going to be. Verse 32. Verse 32. I'm going to pass through all thy flock today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and such shall be my hire. So you may be thinking, well, what kind of a deal is that? Historically, we know sheep are mostly white.
Or black or brown.
Historically, goats are black and brown. If you look at it in the natural, scientifically, spotted animals are more rare. It just is the way it is. If you look, I don't know if you ever in science did the little box where you did positive genes and, not positive, but the genes that are dominant and recessive. And if you have the dominant, you get this, a dominant recessive, you get this, recessive, you get this. Anyway, spotted animals are a recessive, which means that they're rare.
They're very rare.
So when he's saying, I'm going to keep the speckled and spotted cattle and the speckled and spotted goats, Laban would think that would be a good idea because he's saying, I'm going to take the rare animals. In other words,
You've got a beautiful flock.
you have a beautiful
He gets the
flock, I'm
beautiful
just going to
flock.
take the rare ones.
Yeah. In other words, Jacob was getting the less.
Right. Exactly.
In the natural.
In the
However,
natural.
so shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, that when it shall come time for my hire, every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and brown among the sheep shall be counted stolen with me.
Wow.
And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. So they have this new contract. He's
Sure.
still not really working for wages, but he gets to keep any speckled animals that are born in the flock. And so verse 35, we basically have Jacob's new starting point, so to speak. It says, he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straked and spotted, and the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons, meaning Laban's sons. And then Jacob, set 3 days' journey between, then he set 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob. So we have here, the flocks are being separated just between the speckled and the non-speckled. And then they have 3 days' journey between them. And then it says Jacob fed the rest of the flocks. And a 3 days' journey back then would probably have been 45 to 50 miles.
Oh.
So not a
Fresno.
Yeah. Fresno would have taken 3 days each way.
That is.
And so then Jacob took rods of green poplar and the hazel and the chestnut tree, and he peeled white streaks in them and made the white appear, which was in the rods.
Give the skin back.
Basically, he just pulled the skin back. And he set the rods which he had pulled the skin back or peeled before the flocks in the gutters of the water drinking troughs, that when the flocks came to drink, they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived and brought forth cattle that was ring-straked, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob separated the lambs and set the faces of the flocks towards the ring-straked, and then all the brown he put in the flock of Laban. So he's holding up his part of the bargain. When the new lambs are born, those that are spotted go to him, all the others go to Laban.
So months and months and months have passed when all this stuff's going on. Maybe a year or more.
Yeah.
Probably not a year. It wouldn't. The life cycle for
Counting
sheep
season.
and goats isn't that long. And so it came to pass that whenever the stronger cattle did conceive, Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle that they might conceive among the rods. And when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feebler were Laban's and the stronger were Jacob's. So you actually see some pretty wisdom here in how he's breeding the animals. If he saw an animal was weak, he didn't breed it.
Sure.
He let it go to Laban's side. So he was pretty smart when it came to his animal husbandry. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle and maidservants and menservants and camels and asses. So God was with him, and he ended up getting some pretty good compensation for the years of no payment. Because in the natural, it really does go against laws of nature that you would have that many speckled and spotted
All these
cattle,
rare animals
all these
showing
rare
up.
animals showing up all at once. So
So
God's
science.
hands was
In effect, we see. I'm trying to think of Jacob's father.
Laban?
No, not his father-in-law. His
Isaac.
father, Isaac. Okay, so you have Isaac dying or getting really old, and he blesses Jacob.
Sure.
So you see the blessing coming about in spite of everything that the enemy tried to do to destroy the family
Mhm.
through the father-in-law and the daughters bickering back and forth, and and in the midst of this, I think
That's good.
one of the servant women takes their child and takes off, or was that Abraham? Okay, different one. Anyway, but you see all this stuff coming about, and in the midst of it, God is still blessing Jacob, just as Isaac said.
And so that's the end of the chapter. And we learn that Laban really, his attitude doesn't change. I mean, even though he made this contract,
Well, yeah, he is a crook.
he ends up getting pretty. He doesn't shaft him again per se, but
Yeah, but
he
Laban
ends
ends
up
up shafting
getting
himself.
pretty,
Yeah.
He does it to himself.
pretty angry and pretty annoyed
Sure.
that
You can't take advantage
he
anymore.
can't take advantage anymore.
Mhm.
He's taken
Yeah, that's-
advantage for
yeah,
over
that's what
14
it
years
is.
and he
Yeah,
can't do
yeah.
it anymore.
He thinks he has the
He's
upper hand
losing-
in the deals, wheeling and dealing.
He's losing
That's
his
what
He's
roots that-
losing
roots,
his,
Lady Golden.
yeah, he's lost
Right.
his free work. He's
Mhm.
lost what's made him prosperous
Right.
for
Right.
these
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
And in a way, that's a type and shadow of Satan. Eventually, he'll see he's lost.
Yeah.
Burning.
It ain't working.
And he,
The deceiver gets deceived.
This ain't happening.
Exactly.
so any other comments or questions? We're 8 o'clock. Chapter's over. We're done.
I think that's pretty powerful that they go through all of this. And as was said earlier, that even though on the surface, Jacob is looking at, as Sister Kelly said, his trophy wife,
Mm-hmm.
that later in life, Leah gets so vindicated. There it is. In the book of Ruth, you'll find, and throughout the rest of Scripture, Leah is held to such a high honor. And it says in the book of Ruth that may you build the nation as Leah
Mm-hmm.
and Rachel did.
Yeah.
So she's not dishonored throughout
Yeah.
history. And it is so sad that it takes the man all of these years to come and to
To
realize,
realization that he
I
loved
really
me.
loved you. You were better for me than the one that was. In other words, I'm eating sugar, I'm eating sweets. This is good for me, but this is good to me. So in other words, I love my wheat bread, but I just gotta have them cookies. And eventually you'll
Yeah.
say, them cookies are gonna make me toothless, but
Uh-huh.
that wheat bread is gonna give me some strength.
Uh-huh.
Would you say the other's kind of shallow a little bit? Yeah, so
He
that's what
stopped
I'm
the
thinking.
Baywatch and ended up saying, you know what, I kind of like being with Martha Stewart. Somebody's gonna bring me some game.
I like being with Martha
I
Stewart.
wouldn't
That's
mind
funny.
being with her. She's a good cook.
Jesus.
I like to be her aunt. She could be my aunt or something. She's a good cook.
There you go.
So we will no questions. We'll go ahead and close in prayer real quick. Lord, once again, we thank you, God, for the Bible study. We thank you, God, that your word is already anointed. We just ask, God, that you would live and breathe and have your being within us. Go with us, keep us safe, and we praise you for it in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Okay.